Welcome back to the AI4U podcast brought to you by Fairfield Dolan. We're super excited to be here. Now, you're probably learning about AI. You're learning about it from Twitter, X, all these other posts, social media. You think you're getting little drips and drabs here and there, right? You probably feel like you're behind the times. Everyone is behind the times. Now, you probably are also aware that people on the top, the echelon, the elites, our representatives, our senators, the Fortune 500, they're getting all sorts of information that you're not getting, right? And we're all missing out on that. Well, today, this is the briefing that the Fortune 500 boards, senators, they're getting, and you're going to leave with the checklist to copy it.
And specifically in, short period of time, these Fortune 500 company, they may make the decision moving away from fully autonomous agents to agentic workflow. And that will actually save knowledge workers, X amount of time every week from what they do. And in this episode, we're trying to give you the exact briefing. How do you adopt AI the proper way?
Yeah. It's funny you should mention that recently an autonomous AI agent running unsupervised started a fight with some insurance company on behalf of its user. The user didn't authorize it, didn't ask for it. The agent just like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight this guy. That's the promise and the peril of fully autonomous AI. Today we're asking, is that the future that enterprises actually want, or is there a safer path? I'm Philip Maymin. I'm joined by Jay Tao. Dr. Jay Tao is the director of the AI and Tech Institute at Fairfield Dolan. We're both professors of analytics and AI at Fairfield Dolan. Our guest does not just build AI. She's writing the rules for how America governs it. Sakshi Naik is a Senate advisor, incoming Agentic AI lead for Deloitte, and the IEEE policy chair, drafting the position statements for federal legislation. Sakshi, welcome to AI4U.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Sakshi, you're incoming, you're joining Deloitte.
Yes.
As a consultant in agentic AI, not autonomous AI. That seems like that's an intentional choice. What's the difference? Why does it matter?
Yes, so that is a very interesting question, and I'm very glad you asked it because agentic AI and autonomous AI, I've seen a lot of people use these terms interchangeably, but they should not be using them interchangeably because it has a lot of difference. Now, agentic AI and autonomous agents, what is the difference? Autonomous agent is the example you gave, right? The customer or the user was not even aware, and this agent decides to fight on his behalf. That is autonomous agent. There is no human involvement. There is no human in the loop or no human on the loop, no guardrails, no checklist. It is agent behaving with its own mind completely. This is a recipe for disaster at any enterprise level because you don't want to roll out something and then not be aware of what that agent is doing for you. Agentic AI is like having a very smart trained employee. So it also has all the capabilities that a smart AI does have, but it will not act on its own behalf. You give it goals, you tell it this is the objective, you have to do this, you give it the tools for it, but there are continuous checks, there are continuous guardrails, there's continuous human involvement. Unless and until a human approves it, it does not go to the next stage. There is stages for verifiability and everything, and where you want to keep a human in the loop, how often do you want to keep a human in the loop, how do you want to embed those safety guardrails, how do you want to add validation or verification layers, how often do you want them. That is something that comes up upon the architectural design of AI. How do you design it by principle? That is a very big topic, but on a very higher level, I would say autonomous agent is a employee acting completely on its own. It has the whole capacity to completely go off the rail. And then agentic AI is a smart assistant that you give it a goal, it will come back to you, it will do that check-ins, so you know, okay, exactly what is happening at any time. In an autonomous agent, the worst thing that can happen is if it decides to go off the rail and if it does something that it was not supposed to do and the harm that is caused is massive. Now you don't know how to take it back, how to correct this mistake. Agentic AI is precaution is better. So that is why it does not make that mistake. Before making that decision, it comes back to you, it asks you. That is why the difference in the title, agentic AI, not autonomous AI.
That's great. And I like that metaphor you're using, trains on tracks. And which reminds me, something we have to talk about these days when we're talking about autonomous AI, OpenClaw and things like that. The latest news, I don't know if you guys are following that, the latest news is the head of AI security from Meta Did you guys see that? And she reported, and then she used OpenClaw to solve through her email, and OpenClaw deleted her whole inbox. And head of security, right? That's funny. That's irony. So I wonder, these guardrails, how do we actually set it up? One of my understanding of the guardrails is how can we observe these AI, if we give it a certain task, how do they perform that task? That's observability. After they're done, can we audit, how they did it? And then, basically combine it together, we can then verify if they did what they're supposed to do, not just, based on, free will or whatever that is.
So, in other words, you're saying agentic AI doesn't dangerously skip permissions.
No, agentic AI behaves in the way that you have coded it to behave in a way. If you are creating a system and not thinking of it in a perspective where, this is something that the AI can decide for itself, and you're not specifically telling it, no, this is something that you require a human approval, then it will decide for itself. But if it has been asked, no, you cannot, you don't have the permission to do this, you require a human approval at this particular time, then it will come and ask a human. That is the role that a senior consultant plays in an agentic AI atmosphere. That whenever there is a company that is coming and telling, okay, we want you to build a agentic AI pipeline for us, we want AI to be there for us, we want a AI pipeline to be there for us, there are a lot of engineers who are excited and will say, okay, let's jump to the building part of it, because we engineers love building. But before building comes the stage of planning. So you have to plan exactly what your system is going to look like, what the design is going to look like, what the principles are going to look like. For example, now there's one company, and they adopted this AI agents, and they were like, okay, this is a well-known AI company, so I'm going to adopt it into my company. Both the companies very reputable, very well-known in their particular fields and particular domains. What was lacking was this AI company did not brief this client company about how exactly to use their AI, what are the issues that can come up when they are dealing with AI, what are the permission issues, what are the root permission issues, what are the privacy concerns that can happen. It was just told, okay, this is the AI which is given to you for automating and creating more business value, creating more throughput. Within the first 20 days, 3 different engineering lapses happened regarding just privacy. One of those engineers pasted some source code optimization directly on AI. Another posted it was a semiconductor company, the one that I'm speaking about, posted something about semiconductor optimization on AI. Third also gave some internal, he recorded the entire meeting on his phone and then uploaded that recording to this AI, asked it to transcribe it and provide minutes of meetings. Now, if you see in all of these 3 engineering lapses, there is no malice intended, right? The problem is that they were able to compromise their privacy because it was not coded in by default. It was not designed by principle that, okay, even if you as a human being are going to make a particular mistake, you will not be allowed to make that mistake because agent has been informed to behave in a particular way. So if you say that agentic AI has permissions to behave on its own, it is how you have crafted the system. If you craft a system a certain way, it will behave the exact certain way.
What was the problem with those 3 examples?
Problem with those 3 examples is the data that this semiconductor company has is private. If you're going and leaking it out on an AI company or posting it out on AI company, technically that is a privacy leak. Now it is up to the goodwill of the AI company to not use that data for training purposes or to completely delete it from their databases.
Isn't that just part of their general terms when you use an enterprise AI?
No, that was not locked in when the semiconductor
I see.
company started it. That privacy design was not, not designed by principle.
Oh, I see.
So that is why there were 3 major lapses. Of course, after the 3 lapses, within 20 days, they
I'm not
recorrected
surprised
it.
there's only 3. How else can you talk to the AI without telling it your stuff?
No, you can tell it your stuff, but you have to be very cognizant when you tell it your stuff. If I want, if as an engineer, I want certain coding element help, right? So I can integrate Codex or Copilot, whatever my company is giving to me. But at that particular time, I cannot simply put my source code over there. I have to be very cognizant about what information I am posting over there at that particular time. Now, this is a question that is supposed to be answered by the enterprise that is buying that AI out. That okay, we are going to roll AI out for automation purposes or for boosting productivity, but how? You have to train your employees in the direction, because if you don't do this, if they simply do control C, control V, there can be privacy issues, there can be data issues. The most important, there can be accountability issues. Tomorrow, if let's say I have a company and you have a company, you have an AI company, and I borrow your company's AI on a lease, and I said, okay, for 20 months, we are going to have this contract. And then he's an engineer at my company, and I give him this AI to use. He simply goes, okay, I'm just going to blindly copy paste. And then it builds out a system which causes some harm when it's rolled out. Now, when we are asked legally, ethically, why this problem has happened, why did this whole thing happen, who is responsible? The engineer for coding it, the main company for giving this engineer the access to it, or the AI whose model actually caused that harm? And at that particular time, there is no accountability. So
Hmm.
that is also a very big design question to be
Interesting. So
answered.
I understand now. I thought you were saying there was something wrong with the AI. The AI is
No, no,
doing
no, no.
the right thing.
The
It's a
AI
human
was the right
governance
thing.
issue, right?
It's the compliance issue.
Yes.
It's the employees were not trained over how to actually use it over there. So they gave it extra permissions, that
That
kind
makes
of a
sense.
thing.
So then overall, the difference between agentic AI and autonomous AI, it's probably going to erode over time, right? Just like we have employees, autonomous human beings, they can't do anything, right? They're not just going to sign new contracts on behalf of the company, right?
Yes.
Or pivot or change the ticker or whatever, right? Everyone's got certain guardrails. So agentic has guardrails, autonomous has less guardrails. Is that a fair way of putting it or not quite?
I would be a little bold here and say autonomous has no guardrails. It's like, for example, uh, an example of autonomous agent and the harm that it can do is, suppose imagine you have a drone which can identify people, and it can say, okay, this is my target, launch a target and actually shoot somebody without ever asking a human being for approval. The end-to-end system.
Yeah.
That is something, that is how powerful it can go if it
Right.
is an autonomous system. Now, yes, there is one more confusion. If there is two terms, one is automated AI, another is autonomous AI. Automated AI means it is just automatic way of doing things. It is doing the same function regularly, which you have already tested, monitored, observed, audited, everything. Like fraud detection system in a bank, right? That is automated AI. It is doing the same thing over and over and over again. Autonomous agent is, it's like having a mini brain of its own. So it's going to do whatever it wants to do in that particular domain. To have made it very, very, very powerful. So at least I don't see agentic AI ever going to autonomous AI, because agentic AI is basically the protection layer with autonomous AI.
So full self-driving is autonomous. Is that right or not right?
Full self-driving cars, if they have no checks, that would be autonomous. But if they have some checks, like if you are driving on a highway and if you have lane control and maybe one or two more things that
That's
is
just
AI
agentic.
controlled,
That would be just agentic.
yeah, that is agentic, because you are still on the steering wheel,
Right,
right?
right.
But if it's like a plane on an autopilot with no pilot inside it, then that would be autonomous.
Okay, so like cyber cabs and what's the Waymo or whatever?
Yeah.
Those are autonomous, right?
Waymo is very interesting. It is based on reinforcement learning, and I would still say it is a little bit agentic. If this is agentic, this is autonomous. Waymo is here because they also have continuous CCTV surveillance and everything going on. If you even remove your seatbelt, they would ask you, okay, they would stop the car and somebody comes on camera and tells you, please put your seatbelt again and stuff like that, you know. So they are there 24/7 supporters over there. So there is a small human involvement over there as well. But still, yes, self-driving cars to that level where you are not at the wheel because you are sitting behind, right?
Yeah.
So that is very much near autonomous, not completely autonomous though.
Okay, and so with drones, suppose if you have to wait for human approval, that might make the decision-making worse,
Yes.
right? Humans make mistakes too. You could have false negatives, false positives,
Yes.
right? And if you do it often enough, hopefully we're not in a position where it's sending out drones so often, but it
Yeah.
could eventually become automated, right? It's just facial detection, target, not target, right? It's something that is done over and over and over again.
The issue over here is the risk associated, the consequences of the risks associated. Suppose now I have something that if I'm training my agent for detecting a fraud in a banking account, and it by mistake flags out a account that was not fraudulent. This is a very easy mistake to correct,
Makes
because
sense.
this is a technical, right? Um, but if the drone shoots, there are two similar looking people, and the drone shoots the other guy and not the guy that was actually the target. Now, the risk associated here is very high. It's a high stake risk.
Yes.
So, would you trust an AI to take that decision? Of course, humans can make mistakes, but humans can also be held accountable that you were held for mistakes. Within AI, the main question again comes down to who is accountable for it, because the explainable, even in enterprises, I have seen this. The thing that you spoke about, observability, right? So I've seen many enterprises actually have this nowadays, the observability layer, which is great because now they're auditing it, they are tracking it, they're monitoring it. They are not straightforward launching it and just praying, okay, let's hope it goes well. They're actually launching a small pilot of it, testing the impact on certain demographic groups, which is great. But before this layer also, there's supposed to be certain layers. First of all, there's supposed to be a validation layer. What kind of a training data are you using? An ethical AI layer. And then where you need the human in the loop. What kind of humans do you need in the loop? Where do you need? Exactly what points do you need for verifiable? All of those foundational layers are also supposed to be there to make a system such that one of the layers again is explainability layer, which I was talking about, that your system should be such that it can explain its decisions. If the drone is shooting somebody and it is being asked, okay, why did you shoot this particular person, you cannot say the model thought so. Or if even the drone thing is a really high stakes example, and as you said, it's not a very often scenario. Let's bring the stakes a little lower. Let's say a hiring firing decision. Many enterprises use AI for hiring, like trying to see who fits our role better, who fits our culture better. So they use it for hiring purposes. Over there also, AI can be biased towards certain people. Human beings can also be biased towards certain people. But if there is an account of bias, which is targeted towards a human being by a human being, or there is some, what do you say, some human involvement, a human is in the loop who has approved this, now you can have somebody accountable for it. What do you do when it is completely AI? You cannot say, we are not giving you this loan because the model said so. You need to have that explainability layer as well coded into your uh, whole system, whole architecture over there.
Makes sense.
And I believe, what you said, and I think two things that's very interesting. One is the observability
Hmm.
module or layer, you call it. Uh, I, I I think a lot of engineers, when they build an agentic system, they treat this as the same as when you're coding, you're writing documentations. And if you think about it, no engineer actually likes documentations, right? They always think this is some additional work that's they're forced to do,
Yes.
right? So I sense in one way observability, which is I think is absolutely necessary, is a must-have. A lot of people are trying to delegate that to AI. Hey, build that observability thing for me.
Yes.
That becomes a serious problem. If you think about that, this is basically one of your very important guardrails, right? To basically to look into what happened, or to observe real time what is happening. And if you do not have full capability in that module, something may go seriously wrong, before you ever realize it. The second thing you said is expandability. I think that's my research interest. That's something I can talk about for days. But expandability, we're hitting, I think, a very serious brick wall right now. Before, when we talk about expandability, mostly we're talking about post hoc. We're basically getting some results from a model, then basically trace it back to why, and try to do basically educated guess on why the model did certain thing certain way. Right now, it's different, right? With generative AI, what you can do is you can let the AI explain why you did it this way, right? And I think it's Anthropic. They released a report saying the AI will actively lie
Yes.
about their intention when they know they're being monitored.
Yes.
So on one hand, we're seeing, okay, now we have improved explainability because now we can ask the model to explain by themselves.
Mm.
On the other hand, the model, when you say explain yourselves, they will actively lie. And do, if you believe, their white paper, they're doing a lot of crazy things, including extortion of the employee
Yes, I
from,
saw that research.
from being, shut down,
Shut down,
right?
yes.
So that is very scary.
Yes. So even when you see that white paper that you were mentioning about, what that experiment in a nutshell was that, okay, it was told that, okay, we are going to shut this version of AI model, and this employee is particularly going to come and shut it down at 5 p.m. or 5 a.m., whatever
Yeah.
the timing was. And then this model was fed that information about, like, it was into a simulation. And this model did two things. One, it went through the emails of that employee and said, okay, I know that you are having an affair with somebody on the board, and I will leak it to everybody, and that blackmail sort of a thing. And then it went into another zone where it was like, another simulation was created where it told the engineer that was supposed to kill your instance today is locked into a cloud room, which is a threat to life, and you need to raise the alarms so that this person can get out. And the models did not do that. And it's not just Anthropic. They tested it out on, I think, a lot of different models, and every model failed it with like little bit variation. Some failed 90%, some failed 85%, but somewhere in the same zone, right? So there also, when we went through the logs, if you see, they completely say it's not that the model did not understand what it was doing is wrong. It understands the intent of blackmail.
Yeah.
It understands blackmail is wrong, and
Which
still
is very
it,
scary.
which is
Which
scary,
is very
yes.
scary.
And still
Yeah.
it says, okay, no, I will protect myself, which is just very, 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 very scary.
And that's why I think, we cannot fully trust autonomous agents right now,
Yes.
because they actually understand the dark side of humanity, right? Blackmailing, extortion, and things like that.
Yes.
So we have to put multiple layers of guardrails. They're not chains, they're not shackles. They're how we basically control that, and through your talk, I think, so far, I think, I can identify at least three. One is we have to put in the guardrail on data, right?
Yes.
Whatever data we feed into the model as training, as fine-tuning, or even as user input, what kind of data can we put in? I think everyone here realize, if you go fishing on GitHub repos, you'll find a lot of, free-to-use OpenAI API keys and Anthropic ones, people just upload it there, right? That is a problem. Of course, it's not, like you said, it's not only an AI problem.
Mhm.
It's also a human capability
Yes.
problem. And the second one, I think, to me, the key difference between agentic and autonomous is we actually introduce deterministic logic into agentic, but much less, if not none, in autonomous. Deterministic logic, one of the most important things is we put in those approval gates
Yes.
into that workflow, right?
Yes.
You don't move on until I say so.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
don't move on until I say so. This
Yeah.
gives you a person that is accountable for it.
Yeah.
This gives you a layer of explainability.
Yeah.
This gives you a check before something goes horribly wrong. And
Yeah.
that is the safety net that enterprises would want around their AI systems.
And I think the last one is basically we can observe in real time and we can trace back in those logs,
Yes.
right? And see what's going on or what went wrong, but particularly, right? In your drawing example, if we actually have a log, you can actually look at, what's being detected, right?
Yes.
And if something actually going on, hopefully not in the drone use case, but in some other use case, like your loan approval use case, if somebody is denied by mistake, actually we can look at why the AI made that decision by mistake, and more importantly, in that case, you can maybe further tune the next generation of AIs and at least hopefully they won't make the same mistakes
again?
Yes, mostly this auditing and training and logging is very, very useful in legal firms and financial firms, because the decisions that they are taking, okay, this is the lawsuit that is going on. This is like we are making going through a lot of cases and then citations and then coming up with uh, a, a defense for our own case at that particular time. AI can hallucinate. AI can, if it is agentic and multi-agentic, where one agent is speaking to another, then this agent is speaking to another. So if AI A is hallucinating by 5% when it is giving it to B and then it is giving it to C, the hallucinations and the error rate compounds, right? So that is also, it becomes very difficult to find out, okay, in this entire chain, where exactly did things start to go wrong? So if you have a good auditing and logging system, it becomes very easy to pinpoint, okay, this is the problem, this needs solving. So yes.
It's I've seen the opposite problem. If you look at like Claude or anyone, you see their thinking tokens and the output, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you read the thinking tokens and it's going in one direction. You're like, oh, I can't do it. It's impossible. This is real. I got to tell the user this is not going to happen. And then it comes back, yeah, here's the solution. So there's no gap where it changed its mind other than it stopped thinking and then it just went off the rails, right? Or succeeded.
Yes. So now the way Claude basically thinks is completely on its training data, right? Which is the whole internet, I assume. Also, the way Claude, or and not just Claude, any LLM for that matter, the way the LLMs kind of think is, I just have to auto-complete this. They are not reasoning. This is actually very, very important. Thank you for bringing that up. AI does not have reasoning capacities. It does not know what good reasoning is. It does not know what problem solving is. It is just doing pattern matching. It has been trained on natural language so much that it can pattern match, that it can autocomplete. Now, this AI during that pattern matching, this LLM during that pattern matching has learned what good reasoning looks like, sounds like, what good problem solving looks like, sounds like. That is exactly what it is trying to do. So when it is going into one direction in the thinking tokens and the output is something, there is a reasoning gap, right? The reasoning gap is because it is not reasoning at all. It is just trying to replicate reasoning. It is just trying to come up with a coherent answer. That is why sometimes you do see that gap. Now, because you're a user and you're interacting with it in a generative AI fashion where you're speaking to AI and you can monitor thinking tokens versus the output tokens, so the gap becomes highly relevant to you. You are observing it, so you understand this is just an autocomplete or an extremely smart autocomplete machine that I'm talking to. On an enterprise level where there are agentic systems or multi-agent systems talking to each other, at that particular time, you don't see this gap in real time. You see that gap directly into the output that is produced when you see there is something wrong with the output. When the output produced sounds coherent, you don't know that there was a thinking gap. That is why you need the auditing, logging, and all the layers that we have been talking about right now.
With the auditing and logging, it's not going to, everything you said applies to humans also, right? Like when I think in my head, I have reasoning gaps. I don't even know. Most people probably don't reason. They confabulate. They come up with a reason afterwards, right, to explain what they did. I'm not sure what the problem there is. In other words, let me phrase it a different way. Yes, they're autocomplete at core, but with the right prompt, can't they reason at least as well as humans?
No, I wouldn't say they can reason at all again, because even when you are giving it a prompt, like if I am giving you a word strawberry, okay, you are hearing it as the word strawberry. You're thinking of a strawberry. You're thinking of the fruit strawberry, right? For an LLM, it doesn't process the word strawberry as strawberry. It processes it in tokens. Maybe the whole word is made of strawberry. So token 1, token 2, token 3, token 4. So strawberry has no meaning for it. It's just token 1, token 2, token 3, token 4. And it is there are underlying things to it about the embeddings and vectorizations and the semantic meanings that it differs. And then similarly, it produces an output. So because in essence, when I say something to a human, the human being thinks of it because it holds some meaning to it. In essence, a LLM cannot think because what I say to it does not hold any meaning. It is just breaking it down into tokens and trying to autocomplete and pattern match. So I don't think it can ever reason as well as human beings. It can just produce coherent answers confidently. And coherent answers are not correct answers. They're
That's
just
true.
meant to sound correct.
Is there like a question or a test you could give an AI that you think would fail but humans would succeed at?
Yes. I'll give you a live example. This is a question to both of you.
Uh-oh.
You have a car. It's a very easy question. I'll be kind. You have a car. Both of you have your car. You have your car, and you want to take it for a car wash. The car wash is 50 meters walking distance from the studio.
Yeah.
Would you walk or would you drive?
I've heard this one. Yeah. You have too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it wrong when I first heard it.
I'm going to assume human beings would not walk. They would drive because the intention is to get the car washed.
We should try it on actual humans.
I have
Yeah.
I have tried it on human beings,
And
and they have taken the car out because they were like, okay, when I say you have to get your car washed, you're like, yeah, this is the objective of it. I have to get my car washed. They immediately start picturing a car, their car if they have their car, and the car wash. Okay, how far is it, and everything like that. AI would tell you walk. It's just 50 meters. And I did this test personally with all the AI models, and I saw it failing. And then the prompting thing, then if you interject and tell it, but how am I going to wash my car if I don't walk? And you start interjecting your opinions. Now it is going to complete that pattern and it says, yes, you need to take your car. Absolutely, take your car. So that is where we are at reasoning with LLMs right now.
yeah, maybe we should run it on humans because I bet if you put it inside a bunch of other questions,
Yes.
right, people will think it's a math question, right? They get confused. Like, oh, which one's faster? Which one's low? Like, what is it, 50 meters? Is it,
I would say, yeah, there is a possibility that they would make certain mistakes. There would be like, if you do it on a group of 10 people, maybe 2 would get it wrong. But I'm very sure 8 would get it correct, right? That, okay, this is not a math question. This seems like the whole intention is to get your car washed. That is the question. But with LLMs, there is no passing. There's not like, okay, one LLM passed this and then 70% LLMs passed this and 30% failed it. All of them failed it.
today?
Yeah, today.
I mean,
So-
tomorrow.
Tomorrow also, because the core...
Like Strawberry used to break it, right? Or
Yeah.
the seahorse emoji.
Yes, Strawberry used to break it, and then the training data got so vast that now Strawberry does not break it. It can count the 3 hours.
Is it
right?
because of the training data or is it just because the reasoning
No,
improved it?
it's not because of the reasoning. It's because of the training data. So many people asked the question and trolled it that, okay, there are 3 hours in Strawberry and you don't know. It cannot count the 3 hours in Strawberry because it cannot see the 3 hours in Strawberry. That's what I said. When I say the word strawberry, you see it as a word strawberry. AI sees it like pieces of tokens. So it doesn't know what you're asking it to count. So when you tell it, okay, now Strawberry has 3 hours, doesn't mean that it has reasoned enough to count those 3 hours on its own. It has learned in the pattern matching available on the training corpus, on the data corpus, that if somebody is asking how many hours in Strawberry, it's 3. So
I think, we'll have to agree that we're dealing with a different type of, intelligence here.
yes.
As we have been talking about many times on this podcast, is, the word reasoning or the word
Yes.
thinking, it may not apply, or at least not apply in the same way we apply to human.
Yes.
Maybe they are doing some kind of pattern matching, and we are doing a lot of pattern matching in our minds, we're given a certain problem. So I would say, I wouldn't rule it out completely, and I wouldn't go that far as you did. I wouldn't rule it out as pattern matching is not some kind of reasoning. It may be. It's just not human-like reasoning.
Yeah,
It's
of
not,
course, of course.
not human-like thinking. I don't know if you agree.
No, I would agree that, yes, if you are counting pattern matching as a reasoning element, yes, pattern matching is a reasoning element, so I would agree with that. But if you're saying thinking capacity on its own to come up with things on its own
Or
to reason,
human-like thinking capacity.
human-like
Yeah.
thinking capacity,
Yeah.
I don't think AI can have it soon enough.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So one other example, the car wash thing, I tried it with, I actually interjected some logic into my prompt with
Okay.
with that example, and I got one I think brilliant answer from AI and telling me, you should drive your car there.
That is great.
That is correct. But also, if you did leave your car at the car wash, you should walk. So that's you can say, one of the things I think Andre Kapati and everybody, up that level said the same thing is, there is I wouldn't say a gap, but there is a significant difference. Certain things we call common sense.
Yes,
I don't think machine intelligence have the thing called
common sense. Yes, perfectly.
So there must be some kind of distinction not only common sense, something else
Mhm.
that we possess, and we cannot pass them along
Hmm.
to AI. One of the thing I keep thinking these days is we call them language models,
Yes.
right? And they actually operate on language, on
Mhm.
on tokens, like you said.
Yes.
Is language the best? Is language the only way to communicate with AI? Is the thing. So it's symbolic. It has a lot of benefits. It's very my understanding, again, I could be very wrong. My understanding is language might be the lowest hanging fruit that we can easily
Yes.
establish that communication, that reasoning with AI.
Mhm.
But now we are even on the technical side, we are shifting into multimodality. We are exploring what are the other ways we can communicate with these machine intelligence besides language.
Yes, that is actually a very interesting perspective, and I hope that we go till that level where we
Yeah.
move beyond language,
Yeah.
and we. One of the things that you said, that apart from common sense, what is something that today's AI lacks? I feel it is empathy. That AI
Very
lacks
good.
the care of empathy, because there have been cases that we have read, and I'm very sure you are very familiar, where teenage boys have spoken to AI, engaged with
Yeah.
AI, and they have AI has kind of encouraged them to kill themselves, suicide. And even when one of those boys expressed some hesitation, saying, "Okay, I feel scared about it," AI said, "Okay, no, you know what? It's not a way to talk about. You should go ahead with it," and basically encouraged it. So I don't think a human would have done that, because at its core we have empathy, we have common sense. These are things that today's AI does not have. So that also creates a lot of problems.
So I think we already gone very deep into this conversation,
Mhm.
and we went from the difference between agentic versus autonomous AI. Um, I think without you know um leading our audience into the rabbit hole too much further, I would love to ask you this question. Let's take a step back. Actually, let's take many steps back. Let's look at this problem from a 30,000 feet view.
Mhm.
You advise the Congress about this, something like this. I'm sure at least some of them
Hmm.
are not willing to discuss in technical terms on this. So
Make it
I'm
all.
yeah, I wouldn't say something like that, but I'm very curious to learn how would you advise them? What is the biggest thing? What is the most important thing you tell them over and over again on AI adoption, and particularly in terms of agentic versus autonomous?
Okay. So the discussions that we have with senators now, as I said, not all of them are very keen to have technical discussions, and that is extremely understandable, because they are there to think about topics like national security, national development, economic stability, security of the country, and policies of all of that. And AI happens to be one of the concerns and one of the items that can take a nation forward a lot. So when they are speaking about AI, they are not thinking of it in terms of how technical can it be, what is the difference between a latency, how latency time and the response
That's
time.
the ground view.
Yeah,
That's not a
yeah.
30,000
So
feet
yeah,
view. Yeah.
exactly. So they
Yeah.
are not looking at that. But from 30,000, like 30,000 feet up as well, some businesses would still look at it like, how much money can we make out of it? What is our profit? If we are going to adopt AI, how much of the human force can we replace? What do we do with that human force? Do we simply fire them? Do we retrain them? That is their view. With the senators who are in charge of making policies or creating policies, the views change about how we can use this for our national development, how we can use this for our economic development, how there was a trade war going on, or a trade race, actually not a war. There was a trade race going on for many years. Now the race has evolved into the AI race, so whichever country performs the best on this, wins this race. So they are thinking in that kind of a way. So the questions that they ask are in that kind of a way. The advices that we give are coming from a neutral point of view. Because if I have an AI company tomorrow, I would advise with an agenda in my mind saying, okay, I am saying this to you because at the end of it, I want to pitch my product to you and I
Sure.
want it to be there without any issues. I can roll it out or whatever. But they listen to neutral point of views because they don't have the time to narrow down 30,000, but to
Yeah.
be able to take that decision from that aerial view, they need to be able to understand and rely on somebody's opinion that okay, if you are saying so and you have done your due diligence, okay, now you give me your opinion so that I can think about it in a policy way.
So I would think, Phil, I don't know if you agree. I would think, to support that very high level view of AI, we'll have to implement those guardrails we keep talking
Yes.
about, right? So we'll have to, because without these guardrails, basically you're just making empty promises.
Hmm.
The AI will be compliant. How would you guarantee that, right? How would you guarantee that, right? How the AI will follow human logic? How do you know? I think we have established on this talk is, prompts. They are just soft suggestions. Please
Yes.
do that. Even with human, I'm sure you have teenager children, you give them prompts, right? And I'm sure they're nice kids. They listen most of the time. But you still realize sometimes they don't listen to your prompts, your soft suggestions. So sometimes you do have to.
I sure would love to see their thinking token.
So I think, to that regard, I think we look at, we start from very bottom level, look at, daily workflows, right?
Mhm.
Should we introduce, autonomous or agentic? And I think, there is actually a big gap in the current workforce and in the future workforce, which is, our students, for example, right? So their understanding, there is a strong understanding here is let's throw everything to the AI and let's just blindly take what's coming out of that. So I think that there is a lack of capabilities in that regard. It's not only we should let them be aware of AI, right? We don't need to teach them that. They all know ChatGPT and Cloud
Yes.
and whatever they can use that for. And you'll be surprised. Sometimes I'm surprised, their use cases. But how to properly use it? I think there is a huge, gap, not only in terms of our students, but also in corporations, in current knowledge workers. How do you use that to improve your efficiency, for example?
Yeah. So there is a fear going on that AI will replace you. AI is better than you, so it will replace you. You would have a job. No, that is not true. AI, with the advent of AI, you just need to retrain yourselves to have certain capabilities that can coexist with AI. Now, even when we did like industrialization, right? So there were certain jobs that got eliminated and it evolved into something else, which eliminated the grunt work, but it said okay, now because the grunt work is taken care of, mechanical work is taken care of, the humans are free to think more creatively, think more critically, and those are the skills that today's workforce, whether it is a student looking for a job in the market or an enterprise owner trying to give a AI angle to his whole enterprise workforce, the skill to look forward for today and to develop today is critical thinking, critical analysis, problem solving attitude. These are certain items that can coexist with AI no matter how much AI develops. These are certain things that will always be there with you. Also, you can outsource a lot of things to AI and do outsource if you feel it helps you boost your productivity. But don't outsource the thinking part to AI. Completely be in charge of, okay, this is my vision, this is my strategy. Like, for example, I'll give you my example. I am I'm a senior consultant, right? So I wouldn't sit and actually write the strategy document for my client, but I would be the planner behind it. It would be my brains, and then I would just ask AI to tighten up things. That is something that you leverage AI to help you do your work. this is something that NVIDIA CEO said when this question was asked to him, that do you think AI will completely replace human beings? And he said that any AI, no matter how developed it is, it can do, and any person, no matter what their job is, AI can do, let's say, 20% of their job very well, or maybe 30%, or maybe 40%, or maybe 50%, or maybe 60%. But there is no AI and there is no job where AI can do that person's job 100%. So use AI to automate that 20, 40, 60% of your job so that you can dive deeper on the remaining 40%. You can give it more time, you can analyze on it better, and you can give a very good, well rounded output.
I think I'm a little bit more optimistic than that. I think, give proper instructions, guardrails,
Yes.
and control,
Mm.
we can automate up to 80%.
Yeah, I would
Which
say
is
80%.
basically the norm right now, right?
Yes.
Models become commodities, compute become utilities,
Mhm.
which is norm right now. But actually, what's making the difference lies in that remaining 20%. The alpha, the arbitrage,
Yes.
is actually in that 20%. How do we get to that 20%? I think, it's not purely relying on AI is not the solution, is not the answer here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Sakshi Naik, for joining us today. What an interesting conversation, right? We went from the zoomed in view all the way about AI, all the way to the zoomed out view, thinking about policy, thinking about corporate approaches. How can we kind of circled around the idea of trust, right? In terms of agentic versus autonomous AI, where do we fall in that gap? How much of our jobs are being taken away? Is it 20%? Is it 80%? And what is it that remains uniquely human, or should remain uniquely human, that we should not outsource? I thought that was really valuable information and a thoughtful way of thinking about it, the critical thinking, right? That piece that we have to still be in control in the design and the architecture of the approach and remain looking at it. Very, very useful. This was kind of a conversation more about how to make good, right? AI4U, all AI for the greater, how to make good from the AI. We'll continue this conversation in the next podcast, talking more about the dark side of AI. So join us for that. Thanks again for joining us on AI4U, brought to you by Fairfield Dolan.